Hello everyone, welcome to our comprehensive tutorial on mastering GitHub. Whether you are new to version control or looking to enhance your skills, this guide will help provide you with the knowledge and tools you need to become proficient in using GitHub for your projects. So from basic commands to advanced workflows, we'll cover everything you need to know how to effectively manage your repositories and collaborate with others. So let's understand what is version control and the connection with GitHub. So version control is a system that tracks changes to files over time, allowing multiple people to collaborate on a project simultaneously. So GitHub is a popular platform for hosting Git repositories, providing tools for collaboration, code reviews, and also project management. So first of all, you have to set up your GitHub account. To get started with GitHub, you can go to this site and then sign up. Once registered, you can customize your profile, set up security keys, and configure repository settings to suit your needs. So your repository will look like this. There are basic Git commands. We'll begin by covering essential Git commands, including git init, git add, git commit, git push. These commands allow you to initialize the repository and state the changes, commit them to the repository, and push them to a remote server. So when we create a remote repository here, and when we code it in one of our IDEs, let's say Visual Studio Code, and then if you want to push them to the remote server and add it to the GitHub repository in your GitHub account, we can use these commands. So let's take an example, a React app. First, let's create a React app, initialize Git repository, and then push to GitHub. We can use command line, or else there are other softwares that we can use to push the code to the remote server. So first of all, let's create the React app. We can use any IDE, open your command prompt or the terminal and run this command to create a new React app. So I will be using Visual Studio Code as my IDE. So now I'm in my IDE and going to create a new React app. App name is my React app. Now let's move into the newly created app directory. So we can use cd my React app and move to the directory. Okay, so now we are inside the directory. So if you want to start the app and see, you can use npm start. Now we have to initialize an empty Git repository inside our newly created React app directory. So we can use git init to initialize the repository. Okay, so as we have already done that before, it is reinitialized and we can see the git ignore file as well here. So when we are uploading to or pushing to GitHub, these files or the hidden files won't be pushed to GitHub code. Now we can add the files and then we can commit them. So if you want to add a single file, you can say git add and give the name of the file. Let's say readme.md. So readme.md file is only added. But if you want to add all the files, you can use this. So now all the files are added. Then we have to initialize a commit. So we can use git commit -m or -m. That's the message, and we can put the message like this: initial commit. There's nothing to commit as we didn't change anything. So let's change the code a bit. I have changed the app.js, and now we can see here in the source control tab. So we can see the changes in the app.js file. And now we have to stage the changes. So you can click on add plus icon here, then it will stage the changes. And then now we can use the commit message and commit it to the repository. But still, this will be inside our local repository. If we want to commit it to the remote repository, we have to add the remote. First, let's commit it into our local repository. So you can do it in the command line like we did previously, or you can use the GitHub extension that we downloaded in Visual Studio Code. You can simply enter a message here. Anything you want, but it should be meaningful. Okay, now we have committed. Now we need to add our remote repository. So first of all, we have to create a new repository in GitHub. Let's go back to GitHub. Okay, so this is my profile, and we can create a new repository by clicking this button. If you want, you can add a repository template, but I am not adding anything. So I will give the name as test GitHub. If you want to make it public, you can keep it public. So anyone on the internet can see this repository and your codes. If you choose private, so it won't be visible to everybody. And you can choose who can see and commit to this repository. So the README file, normally it contains the description of your project. You can include how to run the project, how to install the dependencies, and who are the collaborators, and how to test the project, and so on. I will keep this public, and without any, as we already have a gitignore file in our code, in our React app, I won't add it here. And also we have a README file. So I'll initialize the repository without a README and a gitignore. If you want, you can choose a license as well, MIT or anything else. Then we are going to click on Create Repository. Okay, so now our test GitHub repository is created and it's public, so you can add collaborators if you want. And so these are the commands to create a new repository on the command line. So we have already done this before. Now we have already made our first commit in the local repository, and we haven't put a branch, but no, by default, the branch is master or main. So here in our Visual Studio Code IDE, you may have seen that we were in the master branch. So now we have to add the remote, as I said before. So to add the remote, we can use git remote at origin and the link to our repository. So let's copy this command. And let's go back to Visual Studio. Okay, so our remote repository is added now. If you want to check the branch that you are in, if you have several branches in your repository, you can check the current branch like this. Okay, so we are in the default master branch. If you have several branches, you will see those branch names below this list. Okay, so now we have added our remote. Now what do we have to do? We simply have to push these codes to the repository. So for that, we can use git push -u origin master command. So we are pushing to the origin and the default master branch. Okay, now all our changes and the second commit is also pushed to the repository. Let's go back to the repository in GitHub and refresh the page. So when we refresh our code in Visual Studio Code, the create React app that we created should be here. Okay, so you can see here, this is our commit message, and this is our first commit message, and then this is our second commit message. All those have been added, and this was our README file. So in modified app.js commit, you can see the changes that I have done in the app.js file. See, I have changed the link to learn GitHub. And also, if you want to clone a repository, you can use this button and get the link from here. And you can simply use git clone command and then use the repository link. So you can see here we are in the master branch. If you want to create new branches, you can create them here and you will see different branches here. If you want to add a description about the GitHub repository, you can add it from this small setting icon here. You can, if this is a website, you can add the website URL. And also topics are like tags. You can give some idea about your repository, what your project is about using these topics. Let's say version control. So you can see some tags here. If you want to change your repository details, you can go to settings in the repository and simply change everything. If you want to delete, you can go down and delete the repository. You can archive it. And also if you want to add collaborators, you can go to settings and then invite somebody using the username, full name, or email. Also, you can see branches here, the tags you have done. Also, there are advanced GitHub features like GitHub Actions, GitHub Pages, and GitHub Desktops. So these tools can help automate workflows, host static websites, and also simplify Git operations for beginners. So you can see here we have actions. So you can create a workflow, YAML file, or any other file. And if you want to make continuous integration, continuous development actions, you can use GitHub Actions. So let's say you have a project with different collaborators and you have different branches. So your colleagues are adding your code into these different branches. So then we all have to integrate the project at last, and we have to merge all these branches together. So for that, we can use these pull requests. So when, let's say we are in branch 1, And after committing and pushing our code, we have to create a pull request, and then the owner or any other reviewer can review the code. And if there are no errors, they can merge this code, which is in branch 1, with the code in master branch and then integrate. So when we integrate, the project should work as before and with the changes that was in branch 1. You will understand more, and I will explain this with an example in the next video. So thank you all. This was a small introduction about GitHub, where we can initialize a new repository in a React app we created, and then how we can push it to GitHub. Okay, see you all in the next video. Bye.